The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome to Are You Afraid 1984, the unofficial American Horror Story 1984 podcast, a PapiChuloRadio.com original series. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. Today is Thursday, November 7th, 2019, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Arauz. During this podcast, we're going to recap, review, and dissect the latest episode of the FX series American Horror Story 1984. Please welcome my co-hosts, Vinnie Hatcher.
Hello there.
And Madison Fitzpatrick.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Let's jump into our recap of Season 9, Episode 8, which was titled Rest in Pieces, and aired November 6th, 2019. Here's the official synopsis of the episode. A deadly trio emerges, hell-bent on unleashing a new era at Camp Redwood. Our former counselors desperately try to keep history from repeating itself. I want to get everyone's initial reaction to the episode, and let's start off with Vinnie.
I loved it. I hands down thoroughly enjoyed this episode. There was so much tongue-in-cheek. There was so much exposition regarding characters that we got a hint of what had happened to them in the time since the massacre's last episode. And we had some more Thelma and Louise of a sorts. And I know it's horrible to say this because there was a mass murder in this episode and there was some pretty sad stuff, but to me, this was actually a very feel-good episode in a lot of ways, just because I got to see some of my characters that I like the most really have a lot of fun together. And we also got some really, really origin backstory that was awesome to me. I really enjoyed hearing about, what happened, how everything came to be the way that it was with the curse.
It was funny. You said, it sounded like you said Velma and Louise, and then all of a sudden I started thinking of Velma from Scooby-Doo and Louise, like going over the canyon.
Jeepers, we gotta go over that cliff.
No, that's what she would say. I love it. What about you, Maddie Fitz? What did you think of Rest in Pieces?
I'm not...
I'm not the Russian judge this time.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I feel like you lied to me. I thought you said you liked it, but maybe okay.
Well, I'm not really liking where this is going. I'm not really liking...
Gugu is dead?
Yes. I'm not really liking the way that this season is going, I guess I would say.
Remember, Maddie was born in the year 2000, so...
No, I wasn't.
Okay, fine.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, I'm not really liking the way that the season is going. I like that we're seeing different characters and new characters come back and stuff like that, but I don't know, just the way that stuff is going, I feel like it's not what we had in the first 2 episodes. I feel like it's a completely different story. I don't know. I'm not too convinced. It was a decent episode, but I don't know.
I will clarify that I agree that this is going in a direction that I did not initially like. But at this point, I've kind of just... I'm just going to lay back and enjoy it at this point because they're giving me camp. They're giving me some humor. And there's still... I still feel like there could be surprises in store. Not necessarily that it's going to twist it into something that it's not, and there's going to be the last episode will have some huge twisty reveal connecting everything. I don't know. I just kind of this vignette thing they've been doing, I didn't like it at first. These isolated chapters, hopping back and forth between characters. But, once I realized that it wasn't going in the super dark direction that it kind of seemed like it would for a little bit, it was going back into the kind of comedic, almost telenovela-esque with the Kaja Gugu of it all and the over-the-top characters. I'm allowing myself to enjoy it the same way that I would enjoy a movie that everyone else says is utterly horrible, but I find hilarious.
Well, there you go. I'm enjoying the ride as well. I liked the episode. I didn't mind it. I feel like, once again, we're sort of getting a little bit more of the setup of what's going to happen in the finale. I liked seeing where everyone's headspace is. Some of it's a little weird. Ghost sex. Some of it is very interesting. We got... I can't even believe I'm saying this, but we got an actual happy ending that moved me a little bit on American Horror Story. And we had some interesting developments that I'm really excited to chat with both of you about. Maybe I'm a little more excited to chat with Vinnie about it than Maddie Fitz, but shocker.
Burn!
I know, she didn't even feel it. All right, she didn't even respond. So before we get into a thorough recap of the latest episode of American Horror Story 1984, here's our announcer with a few special announcements.
Follow Poppy Chula Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chula Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychularadio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chula Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychularadio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chula Radio programs by visiting poppychularadio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Just search for Are You Afraid? 1984 and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. So, let's see. Where should we go first?
Velma and Louise?
No, actually, I want to kind of save that.
No, I know. I just wanted to say it again.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Velma and Louise. Love it. Jinkies. Let's see. Oh, gosh. Where? Well, you know what? Because it is such an isolated moment, let's tackle this first. So, Margaret and Courtney, Beverly Leslie, a.k.a. Leslie Jordan. But it's just so much fun calling Beverly Leslie. They're in the tour bus, and they have found Kaja Gugu. This is where we get what I would call the now iconic line, because I never thought I'd ever be saying it. I never thought we'd ever hear it on American Horror Story. But Kaja Gugu is dead. And so Margaret basically tells Courtney, why didn't you tell me about it? I should have heard about this first. This, that, or the other. She instructs Courtney on how to clean up the crime scene and how it should be done, even though he mentions he's a diminutive man. She's like, well, that's where you're going to chop everything up, put them in bags, bleach everything. No one's ever going to find out that Kaja Gugu is dead. So Courtney does it, and just as he's sort of tossing in the final body bags, literally, we hear, shy to shy, hush hush, do do do. And he turns around and he sees that Kaja Gugu is playing their damn song. And TBH, that's legit all that we get of this in this episode. So Beverly Leslie is there, shooketh that Kaja Gugu is not dead, at least in his eyes.
I was so taken aback that he wasn't just no, I'm gonna call the cops. We have a full tour bus of dead pop stars. What? And you're expecting me to cut them all up and bury them and get rid of all the blood? Excuse me?
Maddie,
Right?
that's what you call a loyal assistant.
No, that's what you call an assistant who's more afraid of their boss than they are of what possibly could happen if they got linked to the crime.
Well,
F
there you go.
that.
You know
Jesus
you do it
Christ.
too, Maddie.
maybe
I
for
know.
Richard Ramirez, but no.
Yeah.
You've done it for me before, but we're talking too much on a podcast. I know. Hush, hush.
But then I came back from the dead.
I know. We can't get rid of you.
Never. Wicked always wins.
I'd love to call back to a very different podcast. That was extra juicy. Woo!
Woo!
Okay. Continue on, Maddie Fitz.
Yes, continue.
No. I'm saying because we're stopping here,
Oh.
and I'm getting your take. This is the thing. It's called a podcast, and we're supposed to be discussing what I sort of recap.
Oh
But
my God, I thought you meant like, can you continue? Like, I'm done because I was the one who interrupted you.
oh, okay. Oh, okay. You're done. Oh, okay. Well, what about you, Vinny? What did you
I'm
think?
done, okay.
Oh, fine. What about you, Vinny? What did you think of this incredibly isolated moment that clearly is very important because now more people are discovering sort of like the ghost situation in a sense, even though I don't know if Courtney really understands it. But it was such an isolated scene that was like never revisited. Like we never saw Courtney again. Like we never came back to this, which I thought was
Yeah. It was weird.
slightly
But I loved it.
perplexing. I
adored
agree
it.
as well. It's yeah.
Like, it was just so funny with him turning around and being like, "Oh my God!" Just
I
like,
know.
because
Yeah.
I just think of when he found their bodies on the bus and he was like, "What in fresh hell is this?" And he went through all that trouble and then they just show up. As an isolated incident, I thought it was a cute little thing. I utterly adore that character. I think he's so funny.
I agree. Courtney is fantastic. So let's talk about ghost sex. I mean, we might as well. So we saw in the previous episode that Montana and Trevor reconnected, and they connected body parts as well because we find them in bed after smashing. And they get into like questions about being a ghost, and Montana goes into like what she feels and all this kind of stuff, but she always has this constant longing to be alive, and she doesn't like that she's going to be stuck there at the camp. So she fills him in on the plan, and he goes on to say that he hates Margaret and he loves Montana, like love. And so after they're done and they get dressed and they leave the cabin, Margaret catches them. We see her watching from afar. So, Brooke goes through it in a different storyline, and we'll discuss that when we get to it. But just to sort of take the little bits and pieces that I need to continue on for the next scene. Montana's past was revealed in a very public way. The secret that she had, that she was in a relationship with Richard Ramirez. And so when Trevor finds her, she's still sort of reeling from that. And Trevor is still on his sort of romantical high. And that sort of thing, and he's basically like, you know what, I want to stay the same. I don't think anything's going to get better for me. I think I sort of peaked in the 80s, and I want to keep my good looks and all this kind of thing. So I think I'm going to kill myself because I want to be with you, and I want to be with you forever. You are everything 80s and that sort of thing, and I want to be with you. And she's basically like, how can you love me? You don't even know me. This is that or the other. I was in a relationship with Richard Ramirez, and why do they always blame the women? And she's clearly still shooketh by everything that was said to her because she was basically kind of blamed for everything that Richard Ramirez had done. So she is basically like, why would you kill yourself? I don't love you. I need someone basically as fucked up as I am. So, and you're not that person. And she's like, I never want to see you again. You should leave. So.
My heart hurt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, Montana, how can you say that to him? I was so upset.
Wait, you were shipping Montana and Mr. Schumer?
Well,
that's a callback, listeners.
I think it's just because, like, in the first couple episodes, they seemed so, like, cool together. Like, they totally seemed like badasses. And like they were both into aerobics and they just kind of seemed like a badass couple.
Oh yeah,
And
that
then
makes
like
them
he
quick
just
to get married. They're both into aerobics.
yeah, and then like he just felt so like in love with her, and now I'm very sad because she's being a bitch.
Yeah, she was
But
being very selfish.
and then also I'm like, weren't Montana and Xavier like a thing like a couple episodes ago?
No, it just they kissed
No.
that one episode. That was it. It was
Yeah, he
probably
was
because
always
of
very much like, I'm not gay, but I probably am.
Okay, because I was like, they're kissing, like, are they a thing? Because they called each other like babe a few times too, I think, and I was just like,
Oh, yeah.
but is like
they were
Xavier
murder
gonna be
bros.
mad? I was like, is Xavier gonna be mad? I don't know. I was like kind of like weirded out by it, but yeah, I'm pissed at her, and I feel like Mr. Schuster deserves so much better.
Yeah. He was such a interesting character when he was alive in the original beginning of the season, and then he became this like John Waters looking like cokehead that just he got what he deserved for the choice that he made, and then he thought that this was like a chance at redemption of like life eternal with this woman who just fascinated him. And it goes back to the previous episode. It was just so corny when he's like, I didn't know what I was missing until I saw you. And I kind of thought they were going to have this like happy ending, but when that happened, I have to admit, even my whole shriveled heart kind of broke a little.
Oh, well, this one didn't affect me like it affected y'all, but it was a bit surprising as to how like how much Montana took things personally about Richard Ramirez. The fact that it affected her so much that she did sort of, in a sense, end things with Trevor. I did like them together, even though I don't really understand how it works. I mean, clearly he was willing to kill himself, so he wants to become a ghost too. But I don't understand like how they fell in love in a sense. I guess it's supposed to be sort of like the '80s and that kind of
Cocaine.
thing. Well, and cocaine and sex, but yeah, it was it seemed a little weird, but
I have a theory.
mhm.
And it goes back to, if you remember the beginning, I said that this season was very much all about, I thought that if we had to match the circles of hell, that this was lust. But it wasn't just sexual lust. It was a lust for something to complete them all, because every character in this season, had some kind of desperate need that they wanted to fulfill. In Gus's case, it was the Olympics. In Xavier's case, it was becoming, the cover of TV Guide. In Montana's, it was the aerobics. In Brooke, I think it was just having a happy life. So I think it was the desperation of wanting something to fill a void inside of them that they kind of forced themselves to either believe that they were so hard that they did fall in love, or that they genuinely noticed what kind of craven creatures they both were and found solace in that, and that's where the love came from so quickly.
Okay, that's interesting. I like that theory. We'll roll with that for now. So let's talk about the Deadly Trio. So, like when I read the press release a couple weeks ago and it said a Deadly Trio, I had no idea that this was where we were going. Like, I thought it was going to be like new characters that want to unleash, to quote Beverly Leslie, a fresh hell on Camp Redwood. But no, it was not. So we see our boy Jonas walking along the road, and a pink car drives by and then comes back. And in the car, once again, speaking of things I was not expecting, was a character that I did not think we were going to see again. It was fucking Bruce, Dylan McDermott, from the previous episode. He's back. Who knew? I thought it was a one-time thing. So he's there. He ends up picking Jonas up. And we learn through everything that we see that apparently Bruce was rescued by a Mary Kay saleswoman. He ends up attacking her, puts her in the trunk, And when she makes a lot of noise, he goes in and tells her to shut up. Who was he listening to? He was listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival. And that, shut up because I'm listening to Creedence. And he ends up killing her. And Jonas is gone because, well, we know what Jonas is. And so he ends up. He tells Jonas his plan is to meet someone there at the festival. When he crashes into, literally, Jingles, he gets to meet his idol, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and they bond over his worshiping, his fangirling, basically, of Ramirez, and the fact that he wants to be even better than Ramirez and that kind of thing. He ends up showing him the Mary Kay lady and all that kind of stuff. And they end up teaming up, going after Jingles. We'll talk a lot more about Jingles later on. And they end up finding him, but Margaret is also there. And Margaret tells them that basically she needs their help. And so after seeing other characters there that we will be discussing about in a different storyline, we learn Margaret's plan. So Margaret would like both Richard Ramirez and Bruce's help in turning Camp Redwood into basically Graceland, an area in which fans of 80s music can go and visit where their idols have died. Every one of the acts, the musical acts that are going to go on stage, Margaret wants killed, except for Billy Idol, because Richard Ramirez and Bruce are like, you can't kill the idol. But everyone else is up for grabs, in a sense. So, let's talk about this. The deadly trio did emerge. 3 people that we knew. Who would have thought? Vinny, talk to me about it.
I love the episode. I did, but I thought this was stupid. Like, it's this love and hate that I have going. Like, it was so obvious that it was going to be something like that. It was going to be the murderers. I was really kind of hoping that it would be counselors that showed up for no reason, in the previous episode. Like, we got some of the 70s counselors. Like, I almost wanted a little bit more. But that being said, Margaret's master plan was so fucking stupid, but it was so Margaret. Like how That's So Raven is so Raven, this was That's So Margaret. Like, of it, like, I actually had to laugh that she wanted to turn this into kind of like an oubliette of massacres where people could not be forgotten. Oubliette's the wrong word, actually. I don't know, like a monument. That's what I'm thinking of. It was just so 80s, so megalomaniacal, and just so capitalistic. And I couldn't have thought of it myself. Like, I was trying to think, like, what was Margaret's master plan? Was she literally just making money off of this concert, or did she have something else she was trying to do? And obviously, as we found out, she was trying to turn this into the Graceland of massacres and spiritual residents. So I kind of, well, not spiritual, that's the murder. I thought that it was actually fascinating that she was able to convince them to help her.
I agree with you on that. And she's like, I'm going to make a boatload of money. And, like, she has not even told them about, like, how they're going to financially benefit. I guess they just must be satisfied in killing. And maybe the, I don't know, the fame associated with murder. But I'm like, y'all don't want to cut? Like, I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah. What about you, Maddie? What did you think of this side of the storyline?
Kind of a little, like I said, like I feel like nothing is fitting in the storyline anymore. Like, okay, you want to have this benefit concert, cool, and then now you, instead of thinking, oh, all the guests are gonna die, and it's now all the performers are gonna die.
Well, no, all the guests were gonna die. That's what the ghosts want to do.
I know, but like, I just feel like it's all over the place. Like, I just feel like this episode, to me, it was just all over the place. Like, in my mind, like, I'm just thinking, okay, remember in the first couple episodes, we are dealing with a serial killer in a camp at night. Now we're like so far off of that storyline. It's just really strange to me. Like, I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like we've gone so far in such a short time. I don't know. And I just feel like it's almost like far-fetched, or it just didn't make sense to me. I don't know. I didn't really like it, but hey, I don't know.
Well, what you're describing is American Horror Story every season. I mean, Cult started off as
I
one
just feel
thing
like
and
I
it
just feel like it's
merged
not
into
that.
something else, and Roanoke started off as one thing and then it changed into something else too. So it isn't that far-fetched in the American Horror Story arena.
It almost sounds like you kind of feel like you were gaslighted.
Yeah, I don't like. I feel like it's just getting so far away from like what we were originally introduced to in the season.
Yeah, I
I
can
don't
see
know.
that. I mean, I do enjoy it, but like I said, it's kind of because I gave in to whatever it was the hell that they're doing. Like I almost feel like he was trying to get so far away from everything that they've done before as far as like trying to surprise people or also just trying to give something different and pay homage to the 80s
Yeah, like
that,
I get the whole like twists
yeah,
and turns and surprises and stuff like that, but it's like
he went off the cliff with Thelma and Louise.
yeah, like
Too far.
I feel like it's almost like they're reaching. Like I don't
See
know.
that.
But I don't know, like it could be different in the final episode. Like it could have like this could like be like a huge point in, the show. So I don't know what it can become or stuff like that, but I just feel like now there's a little bit too many storylines. Um like even the Jingles storyline now, I just feel like that was kind of unneeded in a way. Um I, I don't know. When you think of like an 80s horror movie, it's like I feel like there's so much backstory now, and normally like you don't get that in a movie. You just like focus on the one night or
Well, this is American Horror Story. It's like a series. Like, they are going to have to give backstory. If there's anything American
I
Horror Story
know.
does, it's backstory. I mean,
No, I don't know. I'm just yeah, I don't know. Like it's not horrible, but
okay. Well, I will say I was surprised by the trio just because I was not expecting to see Bruce ever again. Like, I thought the Dylan McDermott thing was a one episode and done type of thing, and I think it would have worked really well as a one episode and done type of thing. Like, it was his sort of, not really a cameo because a cameo wouldn't be in such an extended role that he had in that episode, but it would be a nice callback to an actor that was there, in the very first season and that sort of thing. But the fact that they brought him back, sort of like with the vengeance, I thought was interesting. I was a little bit disappointed though that because when I read about the Deadly Trio many weeks ago, when I read the press release myself, I was expecting like a new breed of terror, like that wants to do something at Camp
Right?
Redwood. So because Margaret was still involved, it just felt like, really? So that to me was something that did bug me. So it's like Margaret and Richard Ramirez and Bruce teaming up. I thought that was like a bit too much. But as far as the story, for me at least, like I hear where both of you are coming from, but the story so far for me has flowed well. Like, I don't think they've done anything that out of the ordinary. As far as the story that they're telling, is it maybe a little different than what they've done before? Yeah. Does it also include a lot of elements that we've seen before on American Horror Story? Yeah. So it wasn't that bothersome for me at least. But yeah. So well, continuing on. We'll do Velma and Louise first before we get into Jingles, even though Maddie was already trying to get in on that action. So
sorry.
it's okay. So Brooke and Donna, we catch up with them at a diner, and we get a very Scream style meta moment where Donna ends up filling Brooke in on what the final girl means and that sort of thing. And it was great because they also got in a little sort of like 80s pop culture, and the fact that Brooke had sort of missed the 80s, or a lot of the 80s, because she was in jail for half of the decade. And so when they're there, they get approached by a tabloid reporter. Her name is Stacy, and she's like, "Oh, has anyone told you you look like Brooke Thompson?" And this, that, or the other. And so there's a little bit of small talk about just more sort of meta moments about 80s culture and that kind of thing. And then when they get back to their hotel room, she shows up again and she's like, "I know who you are, Donna and Brooke." And she's like, "I know everything." And they sort of make a deal so that Stacy is told all of the information about what happened at Camp Redwood, and she would not out them to the police, and she can announce that Brooke is alive once her book is published, and that sort of thing. And so they promise to take her to specific spots at the camp so that she can know the full story of exactly what happened. And that full story is that Margaret Booth is the actual killer from the 70s as well as from 1984. So as she's going around explaining the truth, and as Stacy sort of ingests everything and is basically like, typically the truth is a little bit more outlandish than fiction. We learn that Brooke is gonna end up killing Stacy because she knows too much and she can recognize them and all that kind of stuff. But Donna ends up stopping her, like right at the moment she's about to kill Stacy. And Donna's like, "I know evil. I know you might have some darkness in you, but you only killed Montana out of self-defense, and what you're planning on doing here is just revenge. Setting things right. I came here with you because we're gonna kill one person. I'm not gonna let you kill someone else." And so Stacy runs away. Brooke is sort of calmed down, and Stacy ends up running into Richard Ramirez and Bruce, and she sort of realizes who Richard Ramirez is. She ends up trying to make a deal with them. She sees Margaret there as well, and she realizes that everything that Brooke had said was true, and she ends up getting killed anyway. So, we'll stop right here and let's talk about Velma and Louise. Maddie?
I'm really liking Brooke turning into more of a badass than a damsel in distress. So I'm really liking her character. Donna trying to do what's right is kind of a little odd. Like they've kind of like switched character
How is
traits.
it odd? We clearly saw her character development and her justification for it.
No, I know, but I mean they've switched, like, because Donna used to be the one who wanted to cause so much case stuff just for science, and then Brooke was like the damsel in distress who wanted to do the right thing, and now they're kind of like switching roles. So it's interesting seeing them like this. I like them together. I found that in the start, in the previous episode, she wasn't having the greatest time with her. But now they're kind of like friends and are at least together to, take down Margaret and stuff like that. So I like that they have a common goal, and I hope that they succeed in doing something badassery. But I'm really liking Brooke turning into a badass and almost a killer now.
What about you,
Yeah.
Vinnie?
I kind of agree. I think that having the role reversal is very interesting, and I would not have seen this coming. The change in Brooke, I saw the hardening of her heart, but I did not expect her to be so ruthless. What they did to Dylan McDermott's character, I still did not expect that she was going to be willing to kill a relative innocent just because they could be identified. It was very, very Margaret of her. But yeah, the dynamic between the two of them is fascinating. You know, Donna kind of went from being this hardened bitch to being like a worrywart and the moral compass for Brooke. And Brooke's now become the one, I don't give a shit, I want my revenge. And so the whole thing with Stacy, and then all Stacy getting away and then still getting killed after all, and like kind of coming face to face with the people that she was hearing about, she kind of got what she deserved. I mean, if you're that dumb to like get involved with this in the first place, you can't expect that you're going to have high odds of getting out alive, you know? And so she kind of got the end that I felt the character had coming when she sought out the answers and the information. But yeah, Donna and Brooke are still the Thelma and Louise that I did not know that I needed in my life. And I still really enjoy that, what's going on with them overall, and the trust that's actually, you know, come out of it. Because when she first, you know, got Brooke out of jail, Brooke was very much like, why should I trust you? I should just kill you. And she managed to talk her down, which if that had been me, I don't know. Even if she had saved me, I don't know that I would have been able to be like, oh, that's okay. You caused a lot of people to die. I forgive you.
I will say, Angelica Ross continues to be a revelation on the show. Like I know she did fantastic work on Pose and that kind of stuff, but I'm just loving everything Donna. Like, I feel like Donna has probably had, and let me remove probably, I feel like Donna has had the best arc of all of the characters this season. Like, I feel like there are other characters that have had good arcs, but I feel like Donna has had the most interesting arc. And
Agreed.
yeah, she's just so fascinating and completely captivating. And I am loving the dynamic between both of them. I'm loving the sense of remorse that we're getting, like even in just subtle looks from Angelica. Like it's just coming through, and I just love it. Like I'm loving Donna, and yeah, like that moment where she talked her down from like killing Stacy was a really strong moment for Donna as a character, and it's really shown us that she really has changed from not Rita, during the first half of the season. And I love it. Like I love it so much. Yeah, Donna, you're fucking fantastic. Emma Roberts has
Yeah.
been doing a really good job with Brooke as well. We're getting a little bit of like some of the characters that Emma has played in the past, which makes it very interesting to watch because we got a very different take on the typical Emma Roberts character at the start of the season. Like we wouldn't be as surprised by Brooke's current actions if Brooke wasn't played so differently than what we typically expect from Emma Roberts since the start of the season. So I will give her props as well because we are seeing sort of like the evolution of Brooke, and that has been really interesting to watch too. Yeah, they play off of each other really, really, really well. I hope we see much more of Angelica Ross on American Horror Story in the future because she has been fantastic this season. Like, I'd love for them to bring back Adina Porter. I think seeing both of them play off
Oh
of each
my
other
God.
would be really good.
Yeah, they would play off each other. Just the ability to give attitude and just the sheer gravitas that they both possess, that would be fascinating.
Yeah, and make them both be like crazy characters.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to see them both be batshit crazy. When Adina Porter does like really intense, it's just so fucking good. I mean, she was the highlight of Cult. I mean, I feel like we can all agree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she was just fucking stellar. And also, I mean Lee in Roanoke when we first saw her, she was fantastic there as well. So okay, so this leaves us with the Jingles storyline, and yeah, so we got a lot more of Jingles in this episode, and the episode starts off with him, planning on getting to Ramirez, and wait, hold on, I'm trying to remember. Wait, was the counselor thing that was after he meets with Ramirez the first time, right? Yeah, the counselor thing is when he stabs Xavier. Okay, yes. So he meets with Ramirez first, and then the counselor thing, and then is when is the thing with his mom, right? Everybody? Yeah.
I think so.
That
It's
was
hard. I honestly don't remember.
Madison, you're supposed to remember all this stuff.
I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Oh my god, she doesn't even remember any of the storyline. Oh my god, you
No, I
watched
do. I
The
just
Lady in White
don't.
instead of this one, didn't you?
No, I watched all of them. I'm just
Okay,
confused
no,
of
I'm
what you're
teasing
asking.
you. I'm teasing you. No, I have it right. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So let's get into the jingle side of the story. So, all right. So there's a lot that happens with jingles. So, well, before we get into jingles, there's a little moment with Richard Ramirez. He's associated with this, where he's like around the music festival, and he sees someone that's associated with Billy Idol, and looks at Billy's rings, and he wants to touch it, but he doesn't, and so he ends up getting a guitar pick and that kind of stuff, and there's a moment where the guy is like, "So who are you with?" And Ramirez is like, "Satan." And the other dude's like, "Oh, cool," or something like that. It was so 80s and stupid and amazing all at the same time. So later on, he's singing Rebel Yell, because I guess that's what Richard Ramirez does when he's alone and he's got a guitar pick. And Jingles attacks him, and they're fighting each other. He wants to kill Ramirez because of murdering his wife and that sort of thing. And there's even the gouging of the eyes and all that stuff. And Jingles ends up getting hit by a car, and it's the car driven by Bruce. And this is where Bruce sees Richard Ramirez and that kind of stuff. And the Night Stalker ends up asking Bruce for his help in finding Jingles. And so it's, there's this whole thing where Bruce clearly knows who Jingles is, and he's like, "Oh, that was Jingles," and all that kind of stuff. So the Night Stalker ends up slicing his hand, dropping blood on the ground on a pentagram, and he's like, "Satan will show them where Jingles is." And as they're searching for Jingles and that kind of thing, Xavier runs into them and is basically like, "Oh, you're looking for Jingles? Like, follow me," and this kind of stuff. And apparently, if you dig up a person's body, we learn, this is like the ghost will return. It's drawn to their body, I guess. And so Jingles ends up showing up. Ramirez is kind of shocked and pissed off and annoyed and saddened that he did not get the chance to kill Jingles, but Jingles attacks Ramirez and that sort of thing, and the thing that stops him is Margaret ends up shooting Jingles in the head. And that leads to their storyline, which we've already discussed. So Jingles wakes up for the first time. I guess this is the first time he's ever woken up in the forest after dying post-death, so dying as a ghost. And Jonas is next to him and tells him that it's the worst thing to die for the first time as a ghost. And he tells him that as time passes on, memories get lost. Those little pieces disappear. And Jingles doesn't want his memory to disappear because he wants to remember the motivation to kill Jingles. Jingles wants to keep the motivation to kill the Night Stalker because he wants to protect his child, Bobby, and that sort of thing. And so they get into this altercation, and Ramirez basically tells Jingles that he's going to kill Bobby. He's going to go up to Alaska and slice him up and that kind of thing. And he also tells him that since he can't leave the campground, he can just leave and kill his child and whatnot. So Jingles ends up being taken to the rest of the counselors, and they want to kill him. Like they want to enact their revenge on him. Xavier clearly is still having an issue with everything, And so they plan on killing him, even though he pleads to them that they can stop, future killings by Richard Ramirez by allowing him to go and kill Richard Ramirez. But here's the thing. The ghosts don't want... What is it that they called him? Xavier called him, like, Satan's ball scratcher or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want him on the property. So that's an immediate non-sale for them. And so, so they end up taking Jingles, they being, who was it? Oh, wait, before I even get into that, there's this awesome moment where Jingles is like, you can stop, you can help me stop Ramirez from killing innocent people. And, everyone's like, well, we were innocent people. And then Chet finally says something amusing, and he's like, well, everyone except for Ray. And then
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
I will give Ray props because the reaction shot of Ray looking over and being like, really, dude? Like, was just amazing. It was beautiful. They didn't need to include that, but it was just fantastic. And so Xavier and the two Jingles prankers from 1984, they end up taking Jingles to the dock. And they basically are going to keep on killing him over and over again. They're like, we're going to kill you and, enact our revenge every day, basically. We're always going to find you. We're always going to torture you for what you did to us. And so they slice him and dice him, and they toss him onto a little boat. A little boat. And they're like, you're going to die out slow. And this, that, or the other. So Jingles ends up looking up from the boat as he's bleeding out, sees Montana, and he screams out, like, I failed you, Bobby, or something like that. And then, talk about a nice little remake. The rotting corpse of Bobby, his brother, jumps up from behind and pulls Jingles underwater. And so when Jingles wakes up, he sees his young brother Bobby, and Bobby tells him one of those horrible jokes that he was telling way back in 1948. And he goes to play by the lake's shore. Jingles is sort of shooketh. He sees Lavinia setting up a picnic, and he sits down next to her and has a little chat about his son Bobby. Now he's failed him, and Lavinia tries to sort of reassure him and saying, you did your best. But she's like, we do have our Bobby back. And she was like, it's all because of you and your sacrifice. And Bobby basically tells Jingles, that he wants him to stay with them, and asks if they can play together, and they do. And it appears as if Jingles has gotten his happy ending. Now, I will say, I was moved by this. I don't know if any of you were. Maybe I'm just a fucking sap. But for me, this was probably the most moved that I've been at a happy ending that an American Horror Story character has gotten. Maybe since Sister Jude got somewhat of a happy ending, at the end of Asylum. Because they're both characters that have done evil things, but yet they still sort of get at least a moment of tranquility and happiness at the end of it all. You could say Moira. I was touched by Moira's sort of happy ending at the end of Apocalypse. That is until basically everything from Apocalypse was kind of erased because of the time travel of it all. But we try to sort of forget that. But if Moira got a happy ending, that was a nice little touching moment as well. But Moira was an evil, in a sense. Like Jingles had his moments of evil. He was a killer, even though it was a tragic story and that kind of thing. But to see him get his happy ending really touched me. And I guess, Vinny, we sort of went back and forth about Lavinia, and was she telling the truth at the end? Yeah. Was she just sort of trying to screw with Jingles, Benji even more? But it seems like Lavinia was kind of telling the truth at the end of the previous episode. And it looks like Lavinia kind of, I don't want to say got redemption, because that might be, we didn't really see that, so that might be a bit of a stretch, but at least she found peace as well, because she said in the previous episode that she was searching for Bobby. So because of Jingles, she got the chance to reunite with Bobby. So there was a little bit of a happy ending, and I'm going to assume that we will not see Jingles in the next episode. So Jingles got his happy ending. So, Vinny, since we were discussing this about Lavinia in the previous podcast, what do you think of the Jingle storyline? And did you feel the happy ending was earned? And did it touch you? Or were you just kind of like, eh?
I'll show you on the teddy bear where it touched me. I'm kidding.
In
Honestly,
your heart.
though I think the thing that moved me the most was the homage to Friday the 13th. I mean, that's one of my...
I know, right? Wasn't it
Yeah,
spectacular?
that is one of the classic.
I loved it.
Oh
And
my
that
God, it was
made that
amazing.
little boy look all like a sea creature. It was fantastic. Like, he was
Yeah.
rotten to the core in that ocean.
It was like
Well, it
if
was in an
Jason
ocean, but you
Voorhees
know what I'm
had
saying.
sex with a female creature from the Black Lagoon. That's what it was. And, this whole season has included a bunch of Easter eggs and a bunch of like small references to some of my favorite movies. And when that is one of the things that I did not expect to happen.
I know,
was
from Margaret
waiting for
Sleepaway
it.
Camp hair to when she was in the 70s. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I will say, though, that I don't think Lavinia deserved it. I think that brothers deserve to be together. I didn't give two shits if Lavinia found peace. She was the whole reason that this curse took place, and she was ratchet in the head before it all ever happened. So I don't agree. I don't think that if there is any kind of karmic justice in the universe that she should have found peace, because she's the one that caused all of this horrendous crap to happen to these people by causing this curse. The purgatory aspect of it. Obviously, well, no, she caused the murders too.
She did. But
Yeah,
I
but
100% agree with you. But we got to
yeah,
see Lily Rabe again.
I know. That's the only reason I liked it.
And it was happy Lily Rabe, which outside of, what's her name? The Swamp Lady?
Oh yeah. Why can I remember?
I know. Well, outside of the Swamp Lady from Coven, she's usually never happy.
No,
Well,
she's
she
not.
was she was
So
happy for an episode and a half in Asylum until she got possessed. But
yeah,
yeah.
right. But no, I think that I am happy with the ending that Jingles got.
Misty Rain? Was
Oh,
her name?
Misty Day.
Misty Day, there
I
you
think
go.
it was.
Misty
Yeah.
Rain, close enough.
You kept saying Swamp Witch, so I'm like picturing like I
No,
was
it's a
trying to
swamp
I
remember
know,
lady.
me too. I was like,
like
what?
She
some
was from the
hunchback old
swamp.
crone.
She was from the Swamp Lady.
But I think that by this point, my feelings for Jingle reached a point where I was, okay, he has served his penance. My biggest issue with the character was that he got to run away. He got to have a family. He got to basically get off scot-free other than the guilt that he had. And, Ramirez coming back into his life and killing his wife was some bit of justice, but he still had unfinished business. And when you run away from something of that magnitude, it is inevitable that one of two things is going to happen. You are going to live a long and outwardly happy life while your guilt and your memories eat at you from the inside like a malignant cancer, or it's going to catch up to you and your life is going to be impacted in a horrendous way. And I think that him showing he had the balls to go back and face it, and then facing his mother when he found out that it was her who caused the curse, and then, basically walking into the den of a bunch of carnivorous teenage lions, these murderers that basically blamed him for a lot of the shit that happened to them. He went through his own personal hell, and he was forged. He got his courage, and I think by the time we got to the point where he found his brother again, he deserved the peace that he got. So that part I did. I had a little bit of tickling in my black empty soul, and I enjoyed it. But yeah.
All right. And you are cold-hearted, Fitz?
No. I thought the whole Friday the 13th thing was awesome because I was kind of waiting for something like that to happen because we didn't really get like a Friday the 13th throwback yet, so that was pretty funny. I liked that Jingles got a happy ending. Like I said previously, like I felt really bad for him. um, previous episodes, and I thought that he really deserved better and was, trying to make a better life. And clearly he's trying really hard to make things right and do the right thing. Like, he killed himself just for his kid and blah, 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 blah. But like you guys were saying, I don't think that the mom deserved it, because she was such a bitch, like in the previous episode. Not a real mom, to say that like one kid should have died and the other one, should have lived. And I just, yeah, it just, I don't think that she deserved everyone to be together. I think it should have just been the two brothers. But yeah, like if we don't see Mr. Jingles again and we just know that he's with his family, would actually be quite nice. We've had like some like happy stuff in American Horror Story, but I don't think as happy as this. So it's actually nice to see.
You know what would have been amazing is if they were able to get Lang back for just a 2-minute cameo and have Lily Rabe think that she found her peace and then get sucked away and end up in the house and Fiona just saying, "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Naughty pan. That's the best meme. It's amazing. And you only laugh, so that means that you know what I'm talking about. Poor Maddie confused. But it's fine. You can Google it. Yeah, there's an awesome YouTube video of just her repeating that shit. It's fantastic. So, alright. So I feel like we covered everything, but I just want to make sure. Was there anything that I missed that either of you want to bring up?
I agree with Maddie that we really didn't get a very good Friday the 13th because we did get one throwback originally in the very first episode because they had Swayze's older brother, remember? And he was like, "You're going to die if you go there." The crazy old man on Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm. But this was much better. This was what I wanted.
Yeah, it was like exactly like what happened in the movie. And it was so funny. Like I remember watching that movie like when I was so young, and that part scared the crap out of me because I looked at my mom like at the end when, like she's in the boat and, everything's so happy, everything's so like bright and shiny and the sun's out. I'm like, I turned to my mom and I go, "Mom, is that it? Is it over?" And she's like, yeah, like, everything's fine. I'm like, "Oh, I'm so nice." And then
my brother jumped out from behind the couch and did the Jason thing to me at that exact moment when I was a kid.
Yeah, I was like, "Mom, God damn it."
Right.
Yeah, so it was actually quite funny to see it in this episode because I was like, "Man, I've seen that. Oh, right, Friday the 13th. I was like, "Oh my gosh." But I liked how they make him all swamp-like and stuff like that. And it kind of would have been cool to see Bobby earlier, like in the episodes, like kind of just maybe like a kid like walking through the forest or something like that,
but of some kind.
No, yeah, I think it would have ruined the surprise
because he was killed in such a horrible way, like at like the first, like he was the first killed. Like I get it. In hell, like he probably went to heaven. I would hope, but yeah.
No, it would have ruined the surprise. I think we all forgot about fucking Bobby. Like, in a sense, I mean, we knew about Bobby clearly because they kept on repeating the damn man's name. But, yeah, if they would have shown him as a ghost, like, I think the whole shock of him pulling him down, that would have been lost completely. Because I think we would have expected something like that.
I just would have wanted to have some kind of an explanation of Lavinia deserving to be there. That was my only beef with that scene, really, is like...
Yeah, they could have done it with exposition, even if it was like BS, like a BS exposition, like, something maybe that we wouldn't buy, because clearly we don't buy it.
Yeah, but, like, you showed affection for the son that you've been trying to systematically destroy. Okay, you can go.
I also think it's kind of weird that no one else knew about the first massacre at this camp.
Thank you.
I feel like that's a little strange that it was like, oh, like this murder at Camp Redwood. Oh yeah, and then before that there was another huge ass murder. Like,
I feel like I don't find that completely unbelievable because that was 1948, And it
Yeah,
was 1970s. You're thinking of it as
yeah,
someone that lives in the year 2019, where we have the Google. They did not
Yes,
have
but even
the
without the
Google.
Google, you have gossipy old women and word travels. That's my
Yeah,
only
but they
thing.
would all
It's
be
like,
dead by the 1970s. So
yeah,
but
but
it's
that
like,
story would have traveled. Like, I mean, to me, I agree with Maddie. I feel like if a prepubescent child got his head busted open by a motor while two counselors were having sex, and then the mother went around and massacred the people. I don't know. I feel like I agree with Maddie in that regard. There would have been some whisperings. I guess I just chose to think that it stayed local and it never
like
made
just
it
the fact
beyond.
that Camp Redwood had such a hard time reopening because of the massacre, I feel like that camp would have had the exact same problem opening up as Camp Redwood. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it still would have been, there still would have been a newspaper back then. There still would have been talk with the parents saying, oh, I'm never sending my kid to that camp. Like, it's weird that, oh, there was an actual first massacre before this one. Sorry, what? Like, I don't know. To me, that was just, that's what I mean. Like, where this season is kind of like getting away from me is like, oh, okay, this happened. Why didn't we know about that before? Or like, why was it not mentioned? Like, I don't know. That's what talking about this season, where it's like the storylines are getting a little too stretched in a way. But like I said, I would like to see it all come together in some way in the next episode. So I could be just, I could be biting my tongue in the next episode thinking that it's amazing. So we will see. But like I said, I think this episode's a little stretched. Um, but yeah, I did like the way that it ended with Mr. Jingles. And if it ends that way with him, I will be happy.
well, I'll just say this to sort of put a cap on it. Like, I don't disagree. Like, I understand that people would have talked and that kind of thing. I still don't know if people in 1984 would have been that cognizant of something that would have happened in 1948, especially people because they were not from that area at all, and the massacre in the 70s shocked them. Period. So
I don't know. Like my mom was born in like 1986 or something. And no,
Wait, I'm
no,
older than your
God,
mom?
wait a minute. She was born in 1963. So,
Madison's
and she
true
would
hair
tell me
color
stories of
is
like,
showing.
she would just tell me stories of like, like murders and all this stuff and like happened in, when she was growing up and everything. So it's like for people
Correct,
to
from
not
her
even like,
town. These counselors in 1984 do not live near Redwood. They live all the way in the big city. Like, they didn't even know about what happened in the 70s, so I don't expect them to have known anything about what happened in 1948.
yeah, I guess. Like it would have been like a tall tale, maybe like a rumor or like a, you know what I mean? Oh, did you hear what happened? Oh, I heard that
Urban
was just a
legend.
myth or like stuff like that. Like a,
California is huge. Do you know about the myths that happened on the other side of Canada? No, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to single you out, Madison, but it's just I don't see how our characters in 1984 would have known anything about what happened in 1948, especially because they all seem like self-absorbed 1980s
teenagers.
caricatures. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, before we get into our typical, to do at the very tail end of the podcast, because the next episode is the final episode of the season, I do want to ask, not necessarily, we know the name of the final episode, it's the final girl and that kind of thing, and that was already teased in the promo for this episode. And we learned about the final girl, in exposition in this episode. So I don't necessarily need to know the final girl per se, but who do you think is going to survive? Do you think anyone is going to survive? I mean, do we kind of have to say that we think Richard Ramirez will survive based off of the hotel of it all? But who do you think is going to survive? Do either of you have any theories, or do either of you want to make a bold prediction as to who you think will 100% survive? And when they die in the next episode, you will eat your words.
I'm like, shit, who's even left alive?
I know you
Like
now. You have
Right?
to
beyond the
think of
goddamn
who's actually
ghost.
And
alive.
who's not a ghost?
Exactly. Um,
I'm gonna make a
yeah.
bold prediction, and I think that Donna is going to be the last survivor. there might be more like bystanders, but I just feel like Brooke is heading like berserking. That's the word I'm looking for. She's still on this like berserking path where I could easily see her and Margaret going at it a la Dynasty. Like I said, that I've been waiting for that moment all season. Like I want that like wrestling in the mud, pulling each other's hair, and like we had with Montana and Donna originally. And I don't know. I just see kind of Donna's purpose as being like someone who was transitioned from evil, calculating, well, not evil, but like calculating cold bitch to like moral compass to survivor. And because she's the one that told Brooke about the final girl, I just feel like that's so obvious that Brooke is the final girl that we could get a deflection and it actually be Donna. And maybe I think Brooke will save her.
Oh, that's nice. I do want Donna to survive. Like, there could be many more survivors, but I really, really want Donna to live. Like,
I was going to say, I think that Trevor's going to be the final girl.
It could be.
Or maybe it's his penis.
It's probably just Billy Idol, honestly.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. And please have that be Sarah Paulson's cameo.
Oh, that's funny.
Have her in like androgynous drag as Billy Idol.
Oh, no.
It can happen. Gillian Anderson played David Bowie on American Gods, and it was fantastic. But I hope Donna survives. Whether there is just one person, so they can do the final girl type of thing. I hope Donna is there. I don't know if Brooke will survive. I think at the start of the season, I think all of us sort of pegged Brooke as the final girl, not just because she's Emma Roberts, but just she sort of fit in the character trope of the one that will survive it all. But if she dies, I'm almost kind of fine with it, especially if it's in a way that you described, Vinny, where she does end up killing Margaret. I feel like Margaret needs to die. Like if Margaret survives
needs to be
this,
put in like a garbage compactor.
I know, and I never want to say this about a human being, but Margaret needs to be put down, like like a dirty dog, because she's just horrible.
Send her to Roanoke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The butcher will have fun with her, but yeah, she needs to die. So Margaret needs to die. I do want it to be Brooke to get her revenge. And if Brooke dies in the process, I'm totally cool with that. I don't want anyone to hurt my precious Donna. So I really need Donna to survive. She's had the most fascinating character arc, and there needs to be a bigger payoff for her. And her surviving it to tell the tale to maybe what is to Lana Winters.
Yes, that's what I'm expecting. But I think that it shouldn't just be Brooke that gives Margaret her comeuppance. I think that it needs to be Ramirez and Margaret both have to pay, and they need to pay in a way that is torturous and full of suffering, but also gives all of our deceased characters and our living ones that have been wronged by both of them the sense of like validation and vindication. That's the word I'm looking for. Like I almost want it to be like a round robin of like everyone takes a turn beating the crap out of them and then Brooke finishes her off. Or I don't know. I feel like it needs to be really monumental because both of these two characters have affected our cast so much that I feel like one person getting the final blow is almost like a theft. And they've made such an ensemble of this season so far that I feel like it's something has to happen where it's like maybe Margaret is killed on stage or something. I don't know.
Oh, that would be amazing.
So the theme of Hush, Hush.
Shy to shy. Yes. Oh my God, so stupid. But it would fit in with the show, so it'd be amazing. Very
It really
80s. Very 80s. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. The only problem with Richard Ramirez getting his comeuppance is that he ends up dying, and he goes to the Hotel Cortez on Halloween night, and that sort of thing. But if Kaja Gugu can die, I guess all bets are off, because of Kaja Gugu dying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So I don't know how they're going to explain him being able to like leave the camp if he dies.
Yeah.
Like, so obviously he has to live to some degree.
Yeah. Although, if Kaja Gugu dies in a forest, does anyone hear it?
Hush, hush.
Yeah, I hope that was a good one. Maddie didn't
Wait,
get
no.
the
If
joke.
Hush Hush dies in the forest, does anyone care?
Shy to shy.
Oh my god.
Maddie didn't get any of that. Okay. She's born in the year 2000, y'all. I mean, we gotta forgive her.
Oh my god, I was not.
Weren't you born close to it? Be honest.
No.
She was
4 years.
she was born in 1996, y'all.
I was
Hell
a
yeah.
junior in
Is there
high
a
school.
difference? That's so funny. Okay, well, hush hush, everyone. Let's get eye to eye, because now it is time for the MVP, the most valuable player. State which character impressed you throughout the episode and why. Once a character has been chosen, they cannot be selected again, so choose wisely, and I will give a prize to anyone that picks Kaja Gugu as their MVP. Just kidding. No one should pick Kaja Gugu as the MVP. So, okay. Let's go with Vinny.
Oh, this is a tough one. But, I've had like 4 or 5 people on rotation this entire podcast. But I'm going to go with Jingles. I'm going to give it to him. I already kind of talked about my reasons why. It's what I said about how I felt about that whole, heaven that he ended up getting. And I think it was nice to have a happy ending for a character that was a true happy ending and didn't have any evil inklings of something horrible to come. It was actually like a full circle family back together. And it just kind of, it made me feel good for that character, even though I'd hated him or not cared for him that much in the beginning. And then I started to kind of be more interested. And then we got the backstory, and it was kind of nice to see it happen. And I felt like I said, he ran the gauntlet. He owned up to what he did, and it was really well played. And the character overall, the arc actually impressed me the entire season as a whole. And it was someone that I never thought I would have cared about.
I love it. Fantastic choice. Maddie Fitz, your MVP?
I'm very sad that you took Jingles, but I'm gonna go with Trevor. Just because I feel so bad for him. He's literally pouring his heart out, and it gets shut down. But I feel like he's risking it all, and especially, of course, because we knew that Margaret saw him. He doesn't know that, but I hope that next episode he either gets redemption or something. I don't know. I feel so bad for him, so I want to give him a hug and an MVP.
Speaking of Mark, I didn't mention this, but that scene in which they were looking at Brooke and Donna and Inquirer Lady, that seems so weird to me, because I was like, how did she know that they were there? Like, I thought, like, I was very confused by that completely. It was just, that was odd.
Why are they not addressing, so they killed the reporter, but they didn't even try to address the fact that Brooke and Donna were there, as well?
And
I don't know. Weird.
And, that was just so weird. Like, I didn't get that. I hope that was an editing mistake, because we didn't even get any...
it was.
Yeah, we didn't get any exposition as to, oh, so she's not dead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, they're teaming up. Like, that was a little weird. Because I would have liked Margaret to have been surprised that Brooke was alive. But, yeah. Anyway. So, damn it, Madison. I dislike you so much because I legit thought that you were going to pick my number 1, because I had a really good number 2 that I wanted to rep for, but now I can't rep for my number 2 because you did not pick my number 1. So that means I will pick my number 1, which
So sorry.
I know. So I'm going to give it to Donna. Donna was just everything in this episode. She was fantastic. I just loved everything Angelica Ross did. And I mean, that scene alone where she stops Brooke just earned the MVP status, so for this episode at least. So I'm gonna give it to Donna. And now it is time to rate the episode. How would you rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10 keys? The point system is allowed, and if you found the episode exceptional, deserving of more than a 10, you may grant it the coveted golden key, and yes, you may jingle it. Alright, let's start off with you, Vinny.
I'm going to give it a 10, honestly. Even though there were a couple of minor things that I didn't like, at the end of the episode, Jingle got his finale, and it was a full circle character arc. Donna and Brooke and the murders and the I might just be giving it a 10 for the Kai's or Gugu moment, just because that in and of itself was phenomenal. But no, I think that we're heading into a finale where I still know what the fuck is going on half the time, and it's really nice not to have it be predictable. American Horror Story does surprise us a lot at times, but there's always been this underlying architecture of predictability. And if you had told me at the beginning of the season that we would have seen the things that have transpired, I don't know that any of us really predicted all of them or a good number of them. We had ideas that were close, but it's managed to keep us on our toes, and it may not be the dark slasher that I had hoped it was going to be in the beginning, but I find myself enjoying it, and this episode really brought a lot of stuff back to the beginning. And I feel like that's where we're headed, is we've gotten rid of the jingle story now. We're going back into the small ensemble group where people are going to get their vengeance on Margaret. I feel like that's coming, and as well as Ramirez. So now that we've got the background story of why the curse was there and jingles and all that removed, it's time for a face-off. And I find myself with an appetite that is very wedded to next week and wondering, are we finally going to get that face-off against Margaret, or is Margaret going to win and get her Graceland? So the fact that I'm that excited to see it is the sole reason I bumped it up from a 9 to a 10. We were talking about this and I was reliving it. So yeah, I'm giving it a 10.
Maddie?
Ooh, you're not going to like me. I'm giving it a 6. And you guys know why. Like, I've talked about it, how not really liking the way that the season's kind of going, but I do have high hopes for the next episode. I really hope that things kind of like come together well and end in an interesting way. I hope there's a few more cameos. I was really happy that we saw a few characters from, past seasons come into this season, so I was really happy about that. But I just think that things could have, still been darker, still been more horror-based like it was in the first few episodes that we saw. So yeah, that's why I'm giving it such a low grade, just because I feel like it's going in a different direction that I'm not really a fan of, but that's just me, and I think that a lot of people are enjoying it, but for me, I just think that it's stretching too much. But yeah.
All right, well, I'll bump it up to where Vinnie was. I'll agree with you. I'm going to give it a 10. I thought it was a really good episode. We got a happy ending for Jingles, which I never thought would happen. All the other storylines were just really, really interesting. So, it was another really great episode of American Horror Story 1984. And on that note, join us next time for a brand new installment of Are You Afraid 1984. Once again, here's our announcer to remind you on how you can interact with us.
Follow Poppy Chula Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chula Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychularadio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chula Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychularadio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chula Radio programs by visiting poppychularadio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Just search for Are You Afraid? 1984 and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. My co-hosts, please wish the listeners a good night.
Good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite.
Good night.
Thanks for tuning in. Download new episodes of Are You Afraid 1984 every Friday via Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and the Poppy Chula Radio archives. Good night.